Thriving Hard for Thriving Life Grief Tips. Do you happen to notice that there are a lot of signs of end of year celebration, end of year festivities already? Depend on where you live, but in a lot of places there are a lot of signs of the end of year festivities already. And while a lot of this can be very beautiful and fun as well, for many of us who are grieving, it can intensify our grief as well as it can also trigger our grief. Perhaps some of us, perhaps you feel that you're doing better already, and then you suddenly notice that, oh gosh, seeing all these things just make you feel really, really horrible, so to say. And what can you do? So a few tips with this. Firstly, to know that it is normal, and it is also normal. We know a lot of time we're aware that this is something that can happen if this is very recent. So let's say this is your first year after a significant loss. But it is also actually normal to have our grief triggered, even if this is the second or the third year. And for some of us, perhaps it's been a really long time, decades since something happened. But for some particular reason this year, you really are, you feel triggered with your grief. To just know that number one is that it is normal, that this is something that can happen. And important in knowing that is that a lot of people feel bad about feeling bad, and then it's kind of like amplify the feeling bad. So just know that it is normal. And then the second tips that you might benefit from is to reframe expectation. And so what does mean by reframe expectation? Firstly, to reframe expectations for people around you. To number one, to communicate with them if they don't know what's going on. So if this is not your first year after a loss, people might not be aware. And then even if it is the first year after a significant loss, some people just not aware or not thinking, so to say. And so to communicate with them how you really feel, and if they say, oh, would you come do this and would you do that, and if it is not something that feels good to you, let them know that no, that does not feel good for you. And also, if you, let's say, agree to go to attend an event, to a dinner or a gathering of some sort, you also want to let the person whom invite you know that you might not feel up to it, and you might leave early. It is okay to leave early, even if it is a dinner party or something, as long as you let them know in advance that, hey, I might change the plan at the very last minute. If it is okay with you, I might come, and if I don't feel good, I might leave early. And so to reframe that expectation, and then to also reframe your expectation of yourself. And this is something on what you expect. Perhaps in the past, when at the end of year festivities, you used to do this, you used to make a bunch of cookies, for instance, or perhaps you typically help people at workplace to organize things. But this year, you might just want to allow yourself to take it easy. If you feel like making a bunch of cookies, absolutely. But you do not want to put a lot of demand on yourself. You want to be lenient on yourself. If you go to a party, you don't have to make yourself stay for the whole event if it really doesn't feel good to you. And so reframe expectation of yourself, be lenient for yourself, and to also create new tradition. Now, some people don't feel comfortable creating new traditions because we must misunderstood as trying to forget our loved ones, and that is not true. You can create a new traditions that allow you to remember and honor your loved one at the same time. And that perhaps creating a certain type of greeting cards or perhaps it is creating a new traditions in different way, whichever that your traditions typically that feels good to you. Perhaps let's say you create. I have one client who's happened to live nearby the oceans, and she decided that to as a new traditions that the weekend before the holidays that they used to observe together, she would go and go to the beach and sort of like send love and offerings through the oceans, and then take pictures and all these things, and so creating something that a new traditions that's in remembrance as well as honoring of the loved one. And also, even better, if you can create something tangible in this particular client, she would take picture. She would create like a sand a mandala on the sand, which is like some form of art on the sand, and take pictures of that, and then and frame it for herself, as well as send these pictures to friends and family. And then it is something that very heartfelt. And yes, she does feel sad and cry while she's doing that, but also afterward it's creating something so beautiful for her and all the loved one as well. So create the new traditions if you're able to, whatever that in ways that feels good to you. Perhaps going to a walk or something that is something that feels good to you, and regardless of what everybody else says. And the other tip that we have is to take it one day at a time. When we are grieving, we want to take things one day at a time, really one moment at a time. It's one moment, 1 hour, you might feel this way, and then the next hour, you might feel differently. And that is okay. It is absolutely okay to be taking it one moment at a time, to allow yourself the space and time for you, to allow yourself space and time for you, such that if you suddenly notice that you are slower than usual, then it's okay. If you suddenly notice, and actually you, instead of cooking, you feel like you need to journal first, then be flexible with your schedule. Be flexible with your schedule such that you're able to do things that your heart calls you to do at the moment, and be flexible with your schedule. If and yes, this is with event and gathering and so forth, but also be very flexible with your schedule and be kind with yourself on a day-to-day basis. And then if you say, oh, I need to go to the store today, to the groceries today, and you really don't feel like going to the groceries, then be flexible with you and be kind with you and allow yourself to be you even more than ever, because the holiday commotion can sometimes make us feel like, even on a normal day, it already feels overwhelming, like swept to 15 different directions. So allow space and time and flexibility for you to be you, for your schedule to be flexible, and then to also amp up, to amplify your self-care. I mean, we might sound like a broken recording about self-care, but we know that the if you are in the northern hemisphere, the cold weather that typically lower your immune system. And when we are grieving, we know as well that grief lowers your immune system. And so the combinations of the two will really good reasons, really good reason for you to make sure that you have as much rest as you feel you need. And and that could be more rest than you typically need. So in general, if you need this much rest, typically this time you might notice you just more tired and you just need more rest. So allow yourself plenty time to rest, to unwind, to sleep, to just be you, amp up the self-care. And so those are a few tips that oftentimes help people in navigating through this holiday grief and afterward. But through this holiday grief, and if you're grieving during this winter time, the end of year time, and particularly if you're celebrating holidays, and even if this is not a holiday that you celebrate, a lot of time just things that we hear and notice can trigger our grief, and just know whether it has been a year or the first year or 5 years or a few decades, that this is something that can happen. And also know that it is absolutely possible for you to feel better. And for many people, you feel better again after the whole festivities pass. And for some, if you don't, please know that there are help. There are absolutely help that allow you to feel better and continue to feel better. If you feel that you might benefit from more support, or you just want to connect with a community of people who can relate and who can understand how you feel welcome to join me on my Thriving Through Holiday Grief and Beyond public event. This is an online event on December 6th, Friday, December 6th at 6 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. PST on Los Angeles time. And you can find the link to register in the comment below this video, as well as by scanning the QR code here. And if you feel like you can benefit from more tips, you can benefit from being in a community who care and who care about you, and knowing that there is hope and it is possible for you to move through these holidays, through the celebrations, through the festivities time, through this season, regardless of how bad you might feel. And if you are not feeling good at all, my heart goes out to you. But please know that there is help, and therefore there is hope. And if you have any question, feel welcome to put it in the comment below. Any question, any concern, any comments, feel welcome to put it in the comment sections below this video, or to connect with me directly through joyfulrichesbeyondgrief.com, or through my email, drtanforgrief@gmail.com, as written here. As well as, if you find this beneficial, please subscribe and like and share this video. And if you have any questions, feel welcome to connect with me. And this is Dr. BirgitteTan with Joyful Riches Beyond Grief. I care about you very, very much, and I look forward to see you again in the next